at my school, I held the record for the most talks. We had a science talk club, and I held the record there because I just kept being like, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, and I love public speaking.
A science talk club.
Yeah, shout out TSI Fridays. Thanks, Science, it's Friday.
Oh my God.
What?
Thanks, Science, it's Friday.
Look who's front flipped, back flipped, musty flicked his way into the lobby right now. Join us on the Guild in the Lobby podcast. Can I get a drum roll, Stevie? Gregan!
Hello, it's good to be back. Back in the Guild HQ.
Rocket League OG.
Yeah, I've been around for like 7 years, 8 years now in Rocket League.
Coaching,
been a while.
playing. What else have you done? Casting, hosting. What haven't you done in Rocket League? It's your game, man. This is you.
That's a good question, actually. I mean, I've hit top 100.
Yeah.
That's probably still the proudest thing. Even though I've done all the cool stuff like coaching, casting, I think there's still a little bit of me that wishes I was a player, like a pro player right at the top. Just missed it. I was a bit too old for it when it first came out.
What is that? Because I've heard rumours. Stevie, welcome, by the way.
Hello.
By the way, my name's Ian. This is Stevie White. You know him already.
I'm here.
Stevie, how long have you been playing Rocket League?
I think I got it around about 2018, I'd say.
Do you
5
think that
years?
you're... Okay, do you think that... Because it's a well-known thing in esports, right? Not just in Rocket League, that you peak when you're young. Like, it's all down to, like, I guess, reaction time and all that stuff.
Especially with a mechanical game like Rocket League.
Are you slower than you were back in 2018? Or are you
I'm
better
better
now?
now.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's all nonsense.
Yeah, but I was already 25, so I didn't have that youth in me from the start. I'm 30 now.
We've got better, but then the young kids get better quicker. That's the problem.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
It took me 5 years to go up about 2 ranks, so I'm not great.
Do you think you could have made it pro if you just literally fully went in for it?
When I started, I went straight into casting.
Yeah.
I was good enough to potentially win tournaments and play in tournaments, but then it was like I'd rather be safe and be involved in the community.
Yeah.
And at the time, there wasn't many European casters, so I thought, well, I've got a good microphone, which at the time was the best microphone in all the casters, and it was like a little blue Yeti or something.
Right, yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I've got a webcam, I've got a C920. And they're like, oh wow, that's an amazing webcam. And then I had good internet, which was enough. So I basically was the streamer. I did the graphics, did the hosting, commentated, everything.
Wow.
And then sometimes I'd be solo casting tournaments as well, because Rocket League at the start had no money involved. It was all just done through the passion of the community. So then once there was money involved, a lot of those original people who are now like the RLCS casters got in the door early and sort of built their name up through the indie phase of Rocket League.
It's a hard one to get into now, isn't it? Because those OGs, the pillars of Rocket League, talent-wise, are just sort of locked in, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember back in the day, Kronovi was like this legend. He was this unbeatable player. And I went into a TeamSpeak call with a bunch of people to talk about casting. And they're like, oh, let's just go up into general. And I was like, but Kronovi's in there. And he was just because he was the only one who was a full-time pro. Everyone else was at school or doing their job. He was just chilling at home playing Rocket League. So he popped in, he's like, hey, you all right? And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's the best player in the world right now. And I'm in a call with him. So
you simped for him. And I've heard rumours that you used to simp for Stevie as well, right?
I did,
I want to know the story about how you two met.
Well, I slid into his DMs, didn't I?
Slid into my DMs.
That's always, you never know to trust someone if they slide into your Ds.
Yeah, I don't normally reply. To people, but I get this DM one day. I'm in London for the other podcast I do.
What's that called?
Jack Mate's Happy
I
Hour.
never knew that.
Yeah, it's one of the best in the country, but it's fine. Sorry, not the country, the UK.
It is though.
I was doing that, and I'm at the studio, and I'm scrolling through my Instagram, and I'm going through all hundreds of message requests, and I see this profile picture that looks a little bit more professional than the average Instagram user.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, okay, what's he saying? And he's saying, hey man, I want to take you for a drink.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh,
Is he
cool.
from Texas? Or?
He's flirting with me. Yeah, he is. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, professional picture. And I reply. Because I don't normally reply often, but I replied because I went, he looks professional.
Yeah.
And because I clicked on his profile, and his bio was like, Rocket League coach. And I liked Rocket League.
Yeah.
And I needed coaching. So I thought, I'm going to reply, but I will not go for a drink with this man because that's weird and I don't know him.
Yeah, that would be weird.
So I replied saying, no thanks, but if you want to coach me on Rocket League, I'm down for that.
Yeah, I think at the time I was the guild coach. I was on boot camp in London, and so I was like, well, while I'm here, I'll see if anyone's about. And I had no friends, so I thought I'll try and make one. And Stevie turned out to be the perfect friend.
Oh, and you two are still friends now? You go to gym together and all sorts, because you both live in Norwich, right?
Yeah.
I moved to be closer to Stevie, and he didn't agree to it. I just said, I am moving near where you live, now I know.
If you watch it on YouTube, you can see Stevie mouthing the word help right now. He's obviously joking. But what I will say is I'm quite jealous, because I've been trying to lock Stevie down outside of, work hours for the last several years. And he's never once seen me outside of work. So I don't think he likes me as much.
That's
as
because you're not willing to move to Norwich.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
That's the
that
issue.
Makes sense. Yeah. You two then became that friendly that you helped him come in at Guild, because you were actually part of the Guild Esports, I guess, conglomerate.
Before it was even called Guild.
Before it was called Guild.
Yeah. I was there talking to the early formation of the organisation, because they said, we want to get into Rocket League. We need someone to find a Rocket League team for us. And I was like, well, I'd love to help out with that. I'd just left my previous team at the time, so looking for anything like that. And then as I worked with them, they're like, we like the way you think about the game and see the esports space. Do you want to come in and help us run the whole Rocket League project? Yeah. But then, because it was so early for the org, it was quite a small team. So, everyone was helping out and doing all sorts of different jobs. We didn't have a head of esports at the time, so it was kind of on me and like the senior team to kind of help run the whole esports program. And so I got a lot of people involved in the early production of the Rocket League shows. We needed a production, we needed a graphics person, we needed hosts. And I was like, right, well, I know this guy called Ian, this guy called Shogun, this guy called Aaron Gill, who you now work with all the time, who did the production, and Andy, who did all the graphics for it. So it was like early on, it was just getting all my mates in. And one of the early esports managers, George, was a friend of mine who I was competing against early days of my Vitality days. So it was like all these people, just bring them together. Stevie's one of those people. I was like, makes sense.
It's crazy, because I have always believed that like the Guild, being part of Guild, like the logo and all that, it's almost like a badge of honor in it. Like when you're in, it's like, yeah, I'm part of the Guild gang. And it was like, it's always been that way. From the very beginning, everyone was just wanted to be part of it. And I remember you played such a pivotal role in that, like you just said, bringing in the right people, and you were so passionate about the project. And when we met, it was such unique circumstances. So I was still working sort of like in TV and radio and stuff, and I really wanted to get into esports. And somehow got an agent, and he got me an acting role as a mechanic, as part of the Rocket League roster announcement video that was being filmed somewhere in London, right?
How does that get pitched to you? You're going, yeah, that's all what I've always wanted to do, actually.
I was like, oh, Rich, I'm calling my mates, right? And I've got one friend who works like pantomimes and stuff in Hull, and I'm sat with him saying, right, I've got these 3 lines, teach me how to say them and all this. And it was just such a unique opportunity. So I got this script sent to me, and it says, you're a mechanic, you're working on a car, then the person who comes to collect his car throws you throw him the keys, it's David Beckham. So I'm looking at the script going, David Beckham is going to be in this ad with me. And then I get there, and they're like, oh, by the way, David couldn't make it, so you've got Gregan.
Upgrade.
I was like, sick. So Gregan walks in, we do this big video together, and then afterwards, I just make a point out of going to him, and I was like, Gregan, you're involved with Guild, right? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, I do a lot of hosting. If you ever need a host, like, I'd love for you to bring me in or whatever. And that's how you had my name to then pitch me for the Rocket League, the Grid it was called, the broadcast that we did. And that's how I got into Guild, and then I got loads of work after that. So I want to say on this podcast, Gregan, thank you so much. I owe you a lot.
This is honestly my favourite thing to do in any kind of industry, is set people up who I think are good people who deserve opportunities and getting them on to do amazing stuff. Like I watch now all the players I've ever coached. I want to see their journey after I've worked with them, because while they're working with me, I know what goes in and out of their days, but I want to see if that carries on with them. Yeah. And seeing, like there'll be a player, I'll be like, look, you need to start looking after yourself, sort your sleep schedule out, eat healthier, go to the gym more. And while they're with you, it's the same thing as like with parents. It's always like, okay, well, I'm going to try. But then it's always when they go off and live their life afterwards, they do it. Classic like kid goes off to uni and starts working out because their whole childhood, their parents are like, you need to look after yourself. Yes. So that's always for me the joy of supporting people, is seeing where they then take all of that experience on in the future. So whenever I see you smashing it on Rainbow Six or something, like there's a little bit of me that's then like, I helped there. Even if you did all the work, just knowing that I helped start that journey.
You teed me up at the very beginning. I appreciate it.
Do you feel like a proud dad?
Yeah. I'm a proud dad of hundreds of people.
You've been active. That's impressive.
Active in esports.
Active in esports. Let's make that clear. What are you playing right now?
I'm playing a lot of Pokemon trading card game right now. So that's my other passion. Actually, funny story. I got involved in the Pokemon trading card game because I got a bonus through esports work and was like, what's that one thing as a kid I always wish I could spend money on but could never afford? And it was trading cards. So I was like, right, I'll spend that bonus on that. And I got involved in the local scene and all this kind of stuff. And then just got obsessed with competing in the trading card game. And now I'm a commentator for the regional events for Pokemon trading card game.
I saw that. That's so cool, isn't it?
I can't express how much Pokemon is controlling his whole life at the moment.
Is it really?
Like, since moving to Norwich, I'm pretty sure every other night he's at a Pokemon event.
Yeah, this weekend I've got a back-to-back tournaments.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm going to Ipswich, then Lowestoft. Just travelling around, competing.
Last night he went to a Pokemon thing. Tonight, when you get back to Norwich, he's going to a Pokemon thing.
Last Saturday did a challenge, last Friday.
So 4 or 5 days in a row of
So
Pokemon.
Pokemon's really still popping off on a high level.
It's at the biggest it's ever been. Like, the regional events sell out instantly. There's hundreds of people in a hall playing Pokemon. The really interesting thing from an esports point of view, I don't know how many of the listeners really care about the nuance of business and esports, but Pokemon is a fascinating case study to look at how you can monetize a hobby as a company to try and get people to play your game and it be sustainable. You've got hundreds, in some events in America, thousands of people competing in a hall in a game they like, where they've paid for a ticket, they've paid to travel there, they've paid for the product that they're playing with, which is then part of the game. So it's actually sustainable for them to run an esports system, and then they have prize money at the top, which they pay for the best players and so on. The sponsorships involved.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at a lot of esports, the whole thing is based around investment sponsorship to pay the salaries, the travel, the cost of the event, the production, everything of the event, and it's not as sustainable. So I think there's a lot to be learnt from what Pokemon have managed to achieve there. They get away with it because they're Pokemon and people are willing to spend money on Pokemon.
There's certain industries, right? There's certain, I guess, games and I'm trying to think of what the word for I can describe Pokemon as. Brand, whatever you want to call it, that just captures you and it sucks you in. Like, I was just in Tokyo like last week. Pokemon there is just like crazy. Like, I went to 2 different Pokemon centers. I'm walking out with all these like stuffed toys and stuff.
Did you bring me back a stuffed toy?
Yeah, I did.
You promised you'd bring me back a stuffed toy.
I'll give you one of the 4 that I bought myself. Is that any good?
It's fine.
It's so funny because like my girlfriend, like she's got like she's designed the house really well and all that. She loves like it to be like real. I'm gonna say adult, but like an adult's home. Aesthetic, yeah. And she comes home from work the other day. I got home before her, and the bed is just full of plushes, like huge Kirby, like Pikachu, and like Oshawott and all this stuff. And she's like, oh, "This is my life now, right?" I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, she just accepted it.
Yeah, the thing is, she's hugging Luigi when I'm not there all the time. There's something going on there, if I'm being honest.
I mean, Kirby, I bet that's a really nice cushion.
Oh, it's
like,
massive.
is it like a Squishmallow one?
I won it in one grab, right? So
One grab?
On a claw machine?
Claw machine in Tokyo, right? Walked in, there's this huge Kirby. I'm talking like this, bigger than your head. It's huge, right?
That's large.
Yeah. And like
Why am I taking strays there?
every one of these like grab a machine, I'm gonna call it like a world of just joy where you walk in these buildings. Everyone's going for this Kirby. No one can get it. And I walk in, put 1 coin in, grabber goes down, picks it up. Do you know where it gets to the top and then just
drops
releases?
it. Yeah.
It does that. But Kirby just got my back, right? Cartwheels out of there. Nowhere to like, drops onto his legs, cartwheels, bounces out, and I hold it up like I've won the World Cup, and I'm going, yes! And there's all these Japanese people around me clapping, going, yes! And it was just the greatest moment of my life.
Your life's amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Last time I used a claw machine, I was in Great Yarmouth. Fuming.
Oh, you love an arcade, though.
I do love an arcade. Let's go back to Pokemon, because thinking about Great Yarmouth is making me sad. So Pokemon as a thing, like a lot of people who watch might collect the cards. Now, there's a complete difference between Pokemon collections and then trading card game, isn't there? Because like,
I don't know the difference.
so like people like Logan Paul, for instance,
Yes.
has the ridiculously expensive shiny Charizard, PSA 10, whatever it is.
Yep.
Is that card a great card to have to play with?
So you can't actually play with that.
So no, it's not.
Oh, you see, I'm so confused.
So the cards that you can play with in tournaments are the ones that have been released in the last like year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
So they'll have like a set that they're in, and there'll be a certain number of sets that are allowed, and then you get to a point where they then rotate out a year's worth of Pokemon cards. So that's where the old ones then become more collector's items. So there's some of the cards I used to play with in 2019 are now going up in value because they're, really pretty artworks. People like them. But I was saying to Stevie, when I open a pack of Pokemon cards, I'm going through ignoring most of the Pokemon and looking for the trainer cards because they're really good in battles when you're playing.
Cards. What you do with all the shinies? I'll have them.
So the shiny artworks, I put them in a binder and I just try and sell them and trade them. I've got my binder out there. You can have a look afterwards.
What a businessman.
But when I play with the lowest rarity because it sounds really boring, but it's that they're like easier to play with. Because when you have all the flashy cards, it's quite distracting. So I use the minimum rarity, and it's also like some of the cards will warp if they've got a lot of shiny stuff on them. So I like the non-shiny ones. I'm such a freaking Pokemon nerd, aren't I?
No, you're not. I love it. So I love it.
Optimizing play.
You're obviously doing like all the casting and stuff for Pokemon as well now.
Yeah.
When it comes to playing in these tournaments, which I know you said you've got a couple coming up this weekend, compared to Rocket League, what's your ability level?
Okay, so
good question, Stevie.
So Rocket League wise, I think I'm probably better, but then consequently, I don't play. I use that to coach or cast or whatever. In Pokemon, I think I'm getting better. I feel like I could be one of the best players in Pokemon because it suits the way my brain works a lot more. I'm much more like logical and like odds based. Like I'm good at a lot of card games because of it. And with Rocket League, it's so fast paced, reactive. I feel like as I age, I'll get better with Pokemon. It's sort of like chess or, I don't know, snooker, those kind of games.
Can you become a Pokemon master?
Yeah.
Is that the dream?
I mean, the age division is called the Masters division, so everyone is a Pokemon master.
Yeah, but you want to be like the Pokemon master.
So the whole the professor, right?
Yeah.
So you can qualify as a Pokemon professor. And then that means you can run events and you can judge events and stuff like that. It's like the whole thing is like, it's amazing.
The thing is, I wasted time doing degrees and stuff. I want to be a Pokemon professor.
How do you become a professor?
Professor
Gregan.
It's like an online course, like if you want to become a PT or so, it's the same. It's just...
Is it?
Yeah, and then you do practical work.
It's still a PT, isn't it? You're a Pokemon trainer.
Love that. That's class. Yeah, incredible from you.
Great. Thank you. Let's go back to Rocket League again, because I could talk to you. I want to... tear through that binder when we're out of here. I want to see what you've got, because I've got cash in hand, ready to go.
You're gonna buy some.
What's your favourite Pokemon?
Favourite Pokemon of all time? Snorlax.
I've got a nice Snorlax out in there you'll like.
Yeah.
There's a guy in my local who collects...
top prices.
Yeah. I mean,
Are you selling it?
Yeah, I can sell it.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're friends. Like, it could be just like a thank you for having me on the podcast deal, couldn't it?
Okay, then. Sure.
What?
Yeah, shh.
Plus a fiver.
All right, fiver. I'll buy you a coffee. Let's run it back to Rocket League.
Yes.
The other amazing game that you love.
Yeah.
When you were training to, I guess, be a coach, right? Because that's a different level of skill set than being a player. What was involved with that? How did you become a coach of Rocket League?
So I think coaching and casting felt more natural for me within esports because growing up, I loved public speaking. At my school, I held the record for the most talks. We had a science talk club, and I held the record there because I just kept being like, I want to talk about this, and I love public speaking.
A science talk club.
Yeah, shout out TSI Fridays. Thanks, Science, it's Friday.
Oh my God.
What?
Thanks, Science, it's Friday.
Yeah, I did a talk on tardigrades. You heard of tardigrades?
What?
They're like little indestructible micro creatures.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
They're one of the few things that can survive the vacuum of space. Yeah.
What?
They're really interesting.
So they're floating around in the Blackdale.
Well, no, that's not where they live. They normally live in ponds
They
and stuff
could,
like that. But
if they wanted to.
So if you sent one up
yeah.
on a rocket,
Send one up, it'll
chilling.
come back down.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they're like little indestructible. They can survive extreme cold and extreme heat. And anyway, so I did
I said before we recorded this podcast, I said this is going to go off on tangents. I asked him about Rocket League, and now we're talking about creatures.
Thanks, Science, it's Fridays.
Science, it's Fridays.
I also did a talk on proprioception and put a bit of esports in there as well. That's the idea that you can control where you are in space and time without having to look at the things you're looking at. So you have stretch receptors in your muscles that detect where you are.
Yeah.
And we don't fully understand how it works in virtual spaces like video games because you're doing stretch receptors in your fingers and arms that then control a controller, but then you know where you are. Like a shooter player will know if their body is sticking out or not in a virtual space, but how does your brain process that? Anyway, so that was a talk I did, which was fascinating. Virtual proprioception.
Yeah, I want to thank science. This is over.
I don't know if I'm sticking out. So
I did public speaking.
When you're sticking out, do you mean like outside of a wall?
Yeah, so like if you're like you can hide behind cover and know whether the other person can see you or not because you've got an understanding of where that virtual character is in a virtual space.
But you're not physically that person.
So if I'm Donkey Kong on Mario Kart, and Toad's coming up on the right,
I should be
able. I'm like, I see you.
Yeah, because we've studied it in Formula One drivers, and they're able to drive incredibly close to other people because the car has become an extension of their body as far as their brain is concerned.
That's crazy.
And the same thing is true of like racket sports or bat sports or anything like that. Your bat is an extension of your body. Like if you watch a cricket player, they swing the bat like it's a part of their body, right? Tennis players too. So the whole idea is how does that affect someone with a controller in their hand controlling a virtual car in Rocket League, right? Because you don't think, I'm going to press jump, I'm going to press back, I'm going to press boost. You just do it. You think, I'm going to fly at that ball.
So cool.
So, yeah, that's a fascinating part of science that
I actually quite like that.
You're not a professor yet, though, so you can't declare this as fact.
No, I dropped out of medicine for that.
Professor of Pokémon almost, though.
Could have been a doctor.
You could have been a doctor.
I'm here.
So, obviously, you know a lot. And then you went on to train Rocket League players, which, of course, they're a unique crew of people at times, right? It's true though, right? Young esports stars getting paid bags dropped on their head every month and whatever else. It can be a tough gig, right?
Yeah, and that's where one of the things I prided myself on as a coach was less the Rocket League side, but more I wanted to help young people grow up and become adults.
Yeah.
So Nolly, one of the players I work with a lot, like seeing him grow up was something I was very proud of. And then Ferry Peak, who's a player who won the World Championship with at Vitality. When I first met him, he was very introverted. Had this long hair, didn't talk to many people, and now he's like a streamer. He's now coaching the ex-world champion Vitality team. So like he's like grown into this person. And like I'm not saying it was me. Like obviously in the same way with you earlier, like it's the person does it all themselves, but you're just helping them on that journey and see if you can guide them. And if you're like 1% of what's changed them, or even less than 1%. That's where the coaching was very natural for me because I get more joy seeing someone else succeed after supporting them than I get seeing myself succeed after I support myself.
I forget about Vitality. You won a World Championship Rocket League, right?
Yeah, season 7.
Can we just stop for a second, right? Let's just pause. No, not many of us in life can say we're a world champion in anything.
I never will.
You never will.
Never will. I'm confident on that.
You've got the best podcast in the UK, though, so that's sort of World Championship material. Gregan, the fact that you are at one point in your life won a world championship.
My team did, yeah.
Yeah, but you were the coach, right?
Yeah.
That makes you an elite member of the Rocket League community forever.
Yeah, there's only been 4 world champion coaches, and the idea that I could try and become the second, like that's the dream now, is I want to prove it wasn't a fluke, because I had 3 of the best players at the time. Like I'll be honest, most of it was the blessing of the transfer window and getting the best players, right? Like that's a lot of the time all it takes in esports is get the best players. But then knowing what I know now, I feel like I could genuinely influence a team way more. I look back on how I coached back then. I'm like, that was awful. Like we used to do 1 scrim a day. That was the norm for Rocket League back then. Now teams are doing like 2, 3. They've got replay sessions, 1-to-1s, performance psychology, all this stuff. It's completely changed.
Yeah.
So I'd love to try and really push it now in the modern Rocket League era.
Can we talk a bit about coaching as a thing for a big tournament like that? There's going to be people who are listening thinking, yeah, but the players have won it. Like, what is the coach doing? Like, in football, for instance, sometimes I'll see a manager will get sacked after a poor run of form, and I'm thinking, yeah, but the players are the ones playing
That's
badly.
what you always think, yeah.
So I never blame the coach. I don't like to necessarily blame the manager for the poor play, but then can I then go, great manager, he's just won this. So how does that work as a coach? Like, how much of the credit can you take?
I think just before you jump in, what you got to remember here is like, think about Fergie, right? I always think back to Fergie being like the prime example of just like a great manager.
But then when you look at his team, it wasn't an amazing team. So that kind of shows he did a lot of it. But
that's it.
Mike is just open. Gregan is Mike.
Gregan on the mic.
We're real life friends now.
Gregan has just openly said, well, a part of it is that I managed to get the best players in.
Yeah.
So if winning without the best players is then where you go, well, they've smashed it.
Yeah.
So how much of it is you and how much of it is the players? Or any coach, not you in particular.
I guess with that one, what's interesting is I was a manager and a coach. So a lot of it was managing the project too. And so when we signed Scrub Killer, it was his first RLCS team. He just turned 15. And I was sitting next to him at season 5, World Championship, when he was still looking for a team for the next season. And I was sat there and I was like, we could work together next season. So it's all those kind of like little things that you could be planting the seed of being like, right, you should work with me.
Yeah.
And it was also like, when they're doing tryouts, one of our players that I don't really want to try out with him, he's too young. And I was like, just give it a try, give it a go. He's a very good player. I can help you out. I can work with him, that kind of thing. And I remember like 2-3 days later, I got a message being like, tried out with him. It was amazing. And I was like, it's those little things where it's like, yes, the transfer window went well. And then with KDOP, I remember being at the gym, getting a call. I never get a call from Ferry Peak. And he's like, can we call? And I'm like, well, yes. So there's obviously something important. I was really worried. I was like, what's going on here? He's like, I think KDOP wants to join us. And I'm like, let me talk to Vitality. Instantly dropped everything, spoke to Vitality. I was like, we need to sign him no matter what. We had to buy him from Dignitas. So it was like,
buyout as well.
So I had to be the one convincing Vitality that this was worth it. And Vitality gained a lot from KDOP. He became one of the biggest content creators in the space, won them a world championship, won them an online era championship, did so much for them. And it's that kind of side of things where it's like, Vitality put a lot of trust in me as the manager to manage the project. So yes, I had the best team in the world, but it was more, the whole project was a lot there.
You created the team as well.
Yeah, and there's all these little things. Like I got, like coaches often get called cheerleaders in Rocket League, especially early days. Now less so because you see a lot more. But early on, my nickname was the hydration homie, because I used to literally just walk around with water everywhere for them, because I was like, if they're hydrated, they'll play better. I remember I'd always be a bottle of water next to them when they're playing. I think at one point there was like 4 next to Scrub, because I was like, I need to make sure he's got water. Whenever they're walking onto the stage, do you have your water? And little things like make sure you go to the bathroom beforehand and wash your hands, because when you're at an event, you get quite greasy. If you go in and do a soapy hand wash, get the grease off your hands. It's all those little things. And then it was one time as well, K-Dot went, you got a tissue? And I went, oh, sorry, I don't carry tissue around with me. Never again did that happen. I always had tissues from that point on. Because it's in my mind.
Hire this man right now.
I just want them to feel.
Are you coaching right now or not?
I'm looking for a team right now. Yeah.
Come on, man. He's got tissues on deck.
Tissues, water, soap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also back then, performance psychology wasn't huge in Rocket League, and I begged Vitality to get us some performance psychology sessions, and I got 3 through some people I knew for the team, and I don't know if that helped, but it might have helped. And that was my attitude. Is like, I can tell the players how to play better in theory, but I care more about creating the winning structure. Yeah. Because that ultimately, if they feel confident, if they play more, my team had the most hours in the game. They're the highest rank. At one point, we were number 1, 2, and 3 in the 2's ranked leaderboard. And like we just worked harder than any other team. And there was also a fun little stat. Every LAN we did, where we boot camp beforehand, we got top 4. Mm-hmm. Every LAN we didn't boot camp before, we didn't get top 4. So in my head, I was like, I know how to run a boot camp. That was my mindset. Was if I get a boot camp, I can get them prepped for the tournament, get them working hard, get that environment where they want to win. So yeah, that was my whole idea and philosophy. And also, I coined the have fun meta in Rocket League, because I got asked at the World Championship we won, what did you say to those players before they went out? Because it's before coaches were allowed on stage, and I just said have fun. Because anything I say before they go out is just going to overwhelm them. Mm. So the most important thing right now is that they go out there and they feel like they're having fun. And consequently, Rocket League now has coined the term have fun meta, where every team, when as soon as they do well, people are like, oh, what's the secret? And they're like, we're just having fun. So yeah, it's all those little 1%ers that you try and bring in.
It's awesome. And do you know what? You ever seen Waterboy?
I have.
Hydration homie. Adam Sandler missed the trick there. That's what you should have called it. Or you could be in the sequel.
Waterboy, yeah.
Waterboy Part 2.
Make it esports focus rather than...
Esports focus, yeah.
Yeah, the modern movie based around pro gamers.
I love it. Look, I'm super impressed with like the attention to detail that you put in place as a coach. And, you talk about that have fun meta. It's something that you experience watching it as well. I think any esport, to be honest, I work a lot of live events, LANs where you've got like the players at hand. And the ones that are always winning, do you know what they always look like they're doing? Having fun. They always look like they're having the best time of their lives. And there's definitely a correlation there, Stevie boy.
Yeah, I feel like the weird thing is I've spoken to a few pros of different esports over the last few years, and a lot of the time when they tell me what they have to do to play, it feels like it takes the fun out of a game. So it must be hard for them to go like doing 8-9 hours straight of playing a game and then still enjoying it. So how do they manage to do that?
You got to frame every hour of gameplay into a way that makes it more fun. I think what a lot of people do is like, make sure you get your hours in. And as soon as you're thinking like that, it's like, oh, I've got to go to the gym now to get my hours in, something like that. Whereas actually, if you think, what am I trying to do today? I'm trying to improve this. You've then got to focus. You're then, you're changing things up, mix it up, go into a scrim with an idea. Like the other thing as well is like the first thing you say to someone in a scrim can dictate how it goes. And so if someone joins a call and then you just say something random, like I just popped to the shop and bought this drink, vile, they're going to be like, oh, that's funny. Rather than like, how you doing? Have you got your practice in? It's all about the environment that you create.
Yeah. You're so right. It's such a weird thing because, like, for example, whenever I have an event that I've got to do, I'm always saying to myself, Ian, you've got to do your prep. You've got to do your prep. You've got to do your prep. And then my brain, there's a switch that goes off where it's like, nah, right, you need to do your prep. So it's like, for me to be good, I've got to do my prep. It's not that I should do it or like, in theory, you have to do it. It's like, no, you do it because here's what it equates to, right? And that's the same with the gym. When you're thinking, I'm going to lift these 40s on chest because the results are just right here for us all to see on YouTube. Chest popping out. I felt it earlier. It's popping off.
It's weird.
Is it weird?
No, I liked it.
That'd be good.
He's a strong boy, Stevie.
What was it the mindset for you? Because I think, like I say, I think there's a correlation here between like physical conversations of sports and like competition and esports. It all links together, right? What switched in your mindset? Because it's only been recently, the last year or so, right? Where you were like, I'm going to go to the gym now. What changed?
I allowed myself to get rather large. I'm still a larger man now, but I allowed myself to get rather large and then decided I didn't want to be that. But I thought the way to do it was to consistently tell people on the internet that I'm doing it.
Right.
Because then that's my
accountability.
way of, holding me accountable. And I did that. And on Happy Hour, Jack and Robbie basically were like, oh, you wouldn't be able to do this challenge, which is exercising every single day for 100 days straight. And I was like, cool, I'm going to do that. I did that and lost about 2 stone, but never did as well as I thought I could have because I knew I had to go the next day. When my arms or something starts hurting, I go, cool, I'm done for today. I don't want to be hurting tomorrow. I'll come back. So it was 100 days of bang average exercise. Mm-hmm. Once that ended, I thought I'm just going to stop posting online. I'm just going to do it. And because of the 100 days, it's then now kept me in a routine where I'll go nearly every day at the moment.
Yeah, and every morning we go now.
Yeah,
pretty
even
much.
Where I don't have necessarily that much time, I can just go, I'll squeeze in an hour, get it done. And I'm not posting about it publicly. Obviously, yesterday was the first time I'd posted about it in months, and I'm still losing weight consistently, and just also getting a lot stronger, which I wasn't ever really doing weights that much, and now I thought I'm going to start doing it.
As the missus said, like, hey, look at your shoulders, or like that.
Never said that. Sadly,
I'll tell her.
It all comes from your mates, isn't it? We're all like, "Oh, Steve, you're looking good."
She's noticed differences.
You're both smashing it, to be fair. So you're both sort of bringing each other up by working on yourselves and doing better. So
turns out, if you try and better yourself, life is good.
Yeah, good that.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah,
all those years of misery. Turns out it's my fault.
Yeah, it's all on you, brother.
Well, to be fair, something you said at the gym yesterday, which was great, was it's just become a habit now.
Yeah,
and that's the whole thing is you got to push through it to the point where it then just becomes normal. And that's the same thing with any kind of competition or sport, whatever. If you work at it long enough that it's just normal, then you don't even think about it. Like diet, everyone struggles when they first change their diet because your body goes, got to go back to what we used to do. Then once it becomes normal, like us getting up every morning to go to the gym, it's just normal now.
Yeah,
it's just part of our routine.
That's what it has to become. Gym for me, it's like I always say, it's like brushing my teeth.
It must be easier when you already look good, though. Because then you're going, well, yeah, I go to gym because I look like this.
We did core yesterday. It was like, oh, doing core would be so much easier if you could see your six-pack.
Yeah, like if I had a six-pack, I'd do core all the time. So
I ain't seen my six-pack in 15 years, so that's gone.
Oh, yeah, but you've got a lot of other things going for you.
I appreciate that.
I don't know why you looked down when you said that.
He did look at my... Anyway, let's... Gregan, I just want to look ahead in the Rocket League world for a moment before I want to start to wrap this up. We've got a game we want to play with you as well.
When are we doing survival mode?
Let's do that. Let's do survival mode. So I said, what's the last game you played? You said Rocket League trading cards, right?
Rocket League trading cards.
Coming soon. Coming soon.
Yeah, Pokemon trading
cards, right?
Yeah.
What video game are you playing?
Oh, Pokemon trading card game live.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing.
It's just the online version of it. Does that count?
How do you survive in that? If you woke up in the Pokemon trading card online live game, I sound like my dad trying to explain something here. How are you surviving in there?
Does this ruin the game? Is this just...
No, I mean, I've never played it, so I don't even know what it looks like. Are you a card? What's happening?
I could just be really boring and be like, oh, I'm struggling, so I will boss something on. But that's really like the only person who gets that is the producer Pete, who also plays the game.
Nerd.
But I get right. Let's switch it up. Let's switch it up. What's the last game I played? I played Binding of Isaac. Have you ever played that?
You played what?
Binding of Isaac.
No.
So I've been playing a lot of that recently. It's a roguelike game where you run around as a little kid.
What game?
Roguelike. Rogue, like.
You're saying a lot of times I don't understand. Do you understand him?
So
I'm still thinking about science.
So it's it's a game where you have like infinite shooting.
Okay.
And then you run around the room and there's things coming at you.
You got unlimited ammo.
yeah.
You're in a room and things are popping off.
Like
Yeah.
when that old game when you're the little triangle spaceship and you have to keep shooting all the meteors.
Yeah, sort of like that. Yeah.
Is it?
But
It's like Space Invaders. Is that what you're saying?
kind of.
Pac-Man.
But you're a little kid in a room where there's lots of
Nothing like Space Invaders.
lot of minions running at you.
Pac-Man
you
and
have
the
to shoot 'em
ghosts.
No, you're a kid in a room. There's a load of things running at you. It's 3D. Am
Call
I
of
right?
Duty.
2D.
It's 2D. Oh my god.
It's 3D graphics but 2D movement.
It's roguelike.
Yeah.
Call of
Don't know
Duty zombies.
Sort of. So okay, imagine you're being chased by a load of zombies and
Yeah.
you have a gun and you're shooting them down.
Yeah.
It's like that, but instead of having a gun, you shoot tears at them, so you cry at them.
What's wrong with you? Why are you playing this?
Sounds
So
like
you're-
bedtime.
So you're a kid.
So you're a kid who's been banished to the
That's like
basement.
you trying to go to sleep, yeah.
You're a kid who's been banished to the basement because your mother thinks the lore in this game is awful. Your mother's extreme religious believer, and they think you're you're Satan, so they push you into.
And
the
you're
basement.
crying in the basement with zombies.
Yeah,
And who's coming
they're
after
chasing,
you?
Your
Zombies?
mother. Is,
She's coming after you and you're
So you
crying
got to kill.
at her.
You got to shoot your mum with your tears.
I'll be honest. The lore of the game is very weird, but the reason why I like the game is the mechanics of it are very good, and that's what all the games I ever play is because the mechanics feel good, and I like enjoy the flow of the game.
Okay, so we've dropped you into the game.
Yeah.
You're a small crying boy.
Yeah,
How do you survive from your mum?
just keep
Sentence I never thought I'd say.
just keep crying at the enemies that are running at you. Just keep.
Yeah. You a good crier?
No, I don't really cry much.
Oh, you're going to be rubbish at the
Yeah.
game, then, aren't you?
You're dead. You got to cry.
There's pickup items everywhere, and they change your character, and they all have different synergies. So I'd try and pick up. There's this thing called brimstone, which allows you to fire lasers out of your mouth.
I thought you were going to
Okay.
say like you pick up items that make you cry, like you pick a picture of your ex-girlfriend.
An onion.
There's a item called Sad Onion,
Oh, of course there is. Of
which
course
makes you
there
cry
is.
faster.
This game sounds ridiculous.
It is, and there's a lot of religious-based items because it's kind of got that theme around it. But then there's also just like, for example, you can get like a blood clot, which then makes one of your eyes shoot red tears. It's fun. Trust
Is
me.
it?
Sounds awful.
So
This sounds crazy.
You'd survive in this game by falling in, getting a laser from your mouth, and killing your mum.
Yeah.
Is that what
Good
you're saying?
stuff. All right.
Okay.
I think you've completed survival mode there. Let's move on. I am going to play this. I am going to play this game.
I really want to try it.
Absolutely, I'm going to play this game.
Honestly, it's the mechanics of the game. Sorry to slap the mic. It's the mechanics of the game that make it fun. Like in the same way, like Rocket League, no one cares about the lore in Rocket League. They just the game feels good to play. And Binding of Isaac has very fun mechanics, and it's very deep, and you can keep replaying it over and over again.
Is it a story mode or is it a?
It's
like,
a
high
random
score
generated map every time.
thing? Oh, so the further you get,
And there's
higher
different
score.
bosses that are considered achievements, and then you've got to try and beat every boss with every
To get out of the
character.
basement.
Yeah.
Fair play.
There you go.
Got to get out the basement.
I'm gonna
I
give it
feel
a
like
go.
I haven't
I'm
sold
gonna
that
give it a
game
go.
well. Anyone who knows Binding of Isaac is going to be listening to this.
it called
funny.
again? Say it again.
Binding of Isaac.
Binding of Isaac. Is it on PC?
It's on Steam, Switch.
It's on the Switch.
yeah.
Nintendo greenlit that. That's mental. I'm getting that. I'm getting that tonight.
Yeah, I'll give it a go as well, and we'll talk about it next time we're together.
You've got an Isaac.
What?
Oh,
I've
yeah?
got yeah. My son's Isaac.
Yeah.
He doesn't cry at me.
No.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were trying to say you've got a Switch. For some reason, you accidentally
It's got the
said
Binding of Isaac.
Imagine
yeah.
if I made this game up right now and it was about you, and then just at the end of it I reveal it and like, this is a game about you that I've made.
That'd be horrible.
horrible,
That would be horrible. Let's just start to wrap this up. I just want to ask you, as like the big brain Rocket League man in the room,
Uh-huh.
what do you think the future of Rocket League is in regards to an e-sport?
It's really exciting because our last World Championship was the most viewed
Looked
Rocket League
insane.
event. And that's, 7 years into the esport? The fact that the game is still going up in viewership is crazy. You know, the French scene is amazing for it. All our best players are French. The big French orgs are getting involved. And I think next season, we've got a long off-season here where there's going to be a bit of restructuring for the esport. We don't know the exact plans, but I honestly think Rocket League's going to be very healthy in the future. And I think everyone wants a slice of the pie now after seeing the success of last season. They're like, wow, the fact that 8 years in, so many esports don't make it to 8 years, let alone get bigger after 8 years. So we're in a very good spot, I think.
Especially since Rocket League's a game that doesn't really develop either. Like, they can bring in new cars and stuff, but people stick to the OG cars all the time. Yeah. And the game itself is the exact same game pretty much.
Just don't mess with the formula. You know, when I was in Atlanta a couple of days ago, and I went to Coca-Cola World, right? And like, I was trying all these different, there was like a room with 100 different flavors of Coca-Cola. It was crazy. And do you know in Coke, did you know that they tried to switch the flavor to New Coke from the classic flavor in like 2000 or something? There was a huge uproar, and then they had to switch it back to the classic Coke. True story. I tasted the New Coke while I was there, and it was rank.
Okay.
I feel like if Rocket League tried to change anything, people would all just kick off and want to go back to the OG.
See, again, he's drinking Coke in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Last time I had Coke, I was in Ipswich.
Different lives.
And shout out to Stacks, by the way, right? That guy is a host, right?
Yeah.
The production that goes around him at those events, like, it just tees him up for nothing but crazy success.
That's the advantage. He's worked with the same producer for so long, so they've got that synergy now. So they time everything. The light sequences get timed around Stacks. He does his whole walking in time with the music and... unbelievable. Like goosebumps. He put a tweet out saying looking for work or something, and I said, this man's giving me more goosebumps than the cold, because genuinely every time he comes out and speaks, everyone in the arena gets goosebumps.
Yeah, great voice.
It's funny actually, Stacks and you are the two people I recently showed a friend who was looking to improve their stage hosting for a Pokémon event.
Oh really?
And they're like, have you got any advice around it? And I was like, look, these two guys, they're very different ends of the spectrum, but you can do it your own way. But look at what Ian does to get the crowd going. Look at what Stacks does to tell a story. And it's like, he's very scripted. You're very natural, right? You just go on and do your thing. So it's like, there's so many different styles, but I'm sure he looks at you and goes, wish I could do what Ian does.
And I look at Stacks and I'm like, wish I could do what he does. It's crazy. Yes, congrats on all your success so far, Gregan.
Thank you.
And I know you're always on a personal journey looking to improve, and I feel like you're in a good spot right now. It feels like that to me anyway. Yeah. And it's nice to see you in Norwich doing your thing with this absolute legend as well.
Oh, my life's improved so much being around Stevie all the time.
That's weird.
I'm
not used to people saying nice things to me. This has been unusual.
Yeah. Come on, everyone knows you're one of the nicest people in the world. And shout out to anybody who's looking for a team. A coach, because this is the guy. Sign him up. Sign him up right now. Right now! You going to give me this Snorlax?
Yeah, let's get it. $5.
That's why I gave him a big shout out. $5 still after that. Jeez. Stevie, any last words?
Thanks for having me.
No worries. We'll see you next time in the lobby. Bye.